Madeleine Albright was Secretary of State under President Clinton, and she said something that I love to remember. And she said that there is a special place in hell reserved for women who do not help other women. And if you've ever seen Madeleine Albright, she is a fierce woman. So I don't want to get on the wrong side of her at any point in my life. But when she said that, it resonated with me, and I think it's true. And so I really applaud each of you, the men and the women in the room, for being committed, as I know you must be, to helping women be successful. Because every single one of us has a story. I wish I had time to hear all of your stories and for all of us to hear each other's stories. Because being in an industry that is so dominated by women, 98% of all skin therapists are women. My industry, the industry I've spent my life in and that I love, is the industry that puts more women into their own business than any other industry in the world. So most people don't quite realize what's going on in my industry. They might think it's about steaming and creaming, scrubbing and tubbing. But actually, it's a social and economic powerhouse for women around the world. And 92% of our clients are women. So this is an industry that's completely dominated by women. And so for me, it makes complete sense, because it's part of our DNA, really, that we should be at the forefront of certain areas and a lot of areas of change for girls' and women's economic empowerment, because that's who brought us to the party. The skin therapists and the clients in our industry who really have built a success, not just for the profession, but for Dermalogica and, of course, personally for me. And I am a skin therapist, and of that I'm very proud. I never went to business school. I'm not a cosmetic chemist, which now makes you very nervous about the products you're using. But of course, I work with a team of chemists. But I've had a huge opportunity given to me just because I went to beauty school. And I went to beauty school because I wanted to learn something that I could do with my hands and translate it into a financial, independent situation. And so for that, I've been blessed. And every one of us has a story. You have a story of your journey so far. And who knows where our journeys are going to be going forward. But you all have a story that's remarkable. And you've all had a woman in your life, a mother, a grandmother, a sister, a daughter, a friend, yourself maybe, who's encouraged you and helped you on that journey. And we stand on their shoulders. And we stand on the shoulders of all the women and the men who have helped so far to make women economically independent. And now it's our turn. And now it's our responsibility. And so I guess the question is, what are we going to do? So what I want to share with you is just a little bit of my journey, because I'd love to hear all of your stories, but I can at least tell you my story. And then sort of weave it into what's happening right now. But what I know about women from the industry I'm from is that we are women who have a lot of stories and dreams. And we're great storytellers. And I think that aspect of being a woman, that we process information by conversation and sharing, is an aspect that is often misinterpreted. People will think it's just girl talk. You know, women like to gossip. All these kind of cliches that you hear. It's completely ridiculous. Never mind that we may like some of that. What we're doing is processing information by discussion. That's how we process our information and form our ideas and gather our opinions, because we're collaborative. And that is the element that is so essential in my mind to whether it's a company or whether it's a family or whether it's a country or a government. This aspect of discussion and collaboration, which quite honestly I think is absent in too many situations. And because it's absent, we're missing that talent. And I run a company, and we have probably a little over 70% women at Dermalogica corporate. And it would make absolutely no sense to just ignore the women in the company, because that, I guess, would include me. And as a country or a planet, it makes no sense to not include 50% of the population in any discussion that's happening. Whether it be a family discussion, a company discussion, a government discussion, or a country discussion, 50% of the talent pool should not be ignored or not included, because that's just crazy. You've probably noticed that at most award shows, the Academy Awards, the Grammys, I'm sure the South African Awards, so many recipients thank their mothers. You notice that? At the Academy Awards in Los Angeles this year, and I'm sure some of you watch it on television, Russell Brand actually took his mother, which was kind of strange because he's married to the fabulous Katy Perry. But he was really excited to take his mum. And in the interview on the red carpet, he thanked his mother for his success. And she raised him pretty much as a single parent. And then I noticed as Tom Hooper accepted the Academy Award for Best Picture for The King's Speech, he not only had brought his mother, he thanked his mother from the stage. And he said, my mum went to see a play, and she called me up after she saw it. And she said, Tom, I've found your next movie. And he said, thank you, Mum. And I thought, this is a wise man. Not only is he thanking his mother, he listens to his mother. So all good for me, and it was a fantastic movie. And I'm also really excited at the end of The King's Speech, if you ever sit long enough to watch all the credits, Dermalogica is credited on that movie. Because we worked on location with that film, and it was very exciting. So that was great. And so I guess I want to start off by thanking my mum. And thanking my mum because she was really my first role model. And she gave me a lot of really great advice. And sometimes you learn lessons in your early life that you don't even realize are the life lessons that you need to live your life. And only when you reflect back on them, you think, wow, I didn't even realize at that moment I was being given a life lesson that would equip me for the life I was going to lead. But that's absolutely true of my mum. So this is a picture of my mum with my 3 sisters and I. So you can tell I'm all about, girls. There I am. I'm a little over 3 years old, sitting on my mum's lap. And I had on a blue cardigan that my grandmother knitted, and I remember that cardigan. And I remember it was really scratchy, and I didn't like to wear it because it scratched the back of my neck. And I'm looking, and I see my sister Judy and my sister Sally in the middle, and my elder sister Diana. And it's a great family picture. But the story that isn't told in this photograph is this photograph was taken 3 months after my father died. And my mother was left at 38 years old with 4 young children, 4 daughters. She was widowed suddenly. My father had a cardiac arrest and then a stroke at age 50. And at 38 years old, with never expecting that she was going to have to provide for her family, she was thrust literally over one weekend into a situation that she had to figure out. So my father and my mother were married in 1944, and she was a trained nurse. And I guess as was typical in the 1940s and 50s, when she got married, she left her career to have a family. She also left her career because in the United Kingdom at that stage, and up until the early 1960s, if you were a nurse and you married, you had to leave the profession. You were not allowed to be married and be a nurse. And so, but in any event, in that era, my mother probably would have left her career anyway, and she set about having a family, and they went on to have 4 girls. So suddenly my mother had to figure out, how am I going to provide for the girls? How am I going to keep the girls together? I haven't worked since 1944, and this was now 1961. And she was a quick thinker and resourceful. And she called a friend who she'd done her nursing training with, who was then matron of the Western General Hospital in Edinburgh, Scotland. My dad was a Scot. I grew up in Scotland. And she said, I need a job. And thank goodness her friend, a woman, said, what can I do? And my mum said, well, Jane's only 3. There was no daycare or kindergarten. And she certainly couldn't have afforded a babysitter or anyone to help out. She said, I need the night shift. And she worked 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., and she cobbled together a patchwork quilt of care. And when my sisters came home from school at 3:30, 4 o'clock, they looked after me, and my mum caught a couple of hours sleep. And then when she came back at 7 a.m., she caught another couple of hours sleep because school in Scotland started at 9:20. And then she looked after me during the day. And I never realized what a hard job that all must have been, because I had an extraordinary childhood. I had a blessed childhood. And I had a blessed childhood because I was raised by a mother who encouraged me and taught me life lessons, and my sisters, that would really serve us very, very well. And what I learned from my mother is that in life, you know how sometimes you go to the beach and there's little tiny waves and you can jump over them really easily. And it's a lovely day at the shore and you can just jump over the waves and it's really pleasant and the water's warm. And life's like that sometimes. Hopefully it's like that a lot of the time in our lives. The waves come and it's all sweet and all lovely. And then other times you go to the beach and it's a bit more hectic and you might need someone's help to get over the waves because they're bigger and they're a bit scary, and then someone bigger can help you and they'll help you jump over the waves. And that's fun too. I remember going to the beach and having help over the waves. And then other times the waves are so bloody big, you better just get out of the ocean right away. And so my mum used an analogy, and she would say to my sisters and I, you know, life is not about balance. It's about resilience. And I think it's incredibly true for women to think about that.